The apartment smelled like fresh paint and possibility when Marcus first walked through the door. After 3 years in a shoebox studio with paper-thin walls and a neighbor who practiced accordion at 2 a.m., this two-bedroom in Brooklyn's Park Slope felt like a palace. Hardwood floors, tall windows that actually let in sunlight, and a kitchen where 2 people could stand without bumping elbows. There was just one catch. He'd have to share it with a complete stranger. Marcus adjusted the messenger bag on his shoulder and tried not to look too eager as the current tenant. A woman named Rachel with kind eyes and an unfortunate moving deadline showed him around. My new job starts in Seattle next week, so I need someone who can move in basically immediately, Rachel explained, gesturing toward the second bedroom. Elliot's been here for 2 years. He's quiet, keeps to himself mostly. Graphic designer, works from home a lot. He's actually the one who suggested we find a new roommate instead of him just taking over the lease alone. Sounds perfect, Marcus said, meaning it. After the chaos of his last living situation, quiet sounded like a dream. He's out right now, but I can show you his portfolio if you want. He's really talented. Rachel pulled out her phone, scrolling through images of sleek logos and editorial layouts. He mostly does book covers and branding for small businesses. Marcus nodded politely, but his attention had drifted to the living room, the built-in bookshelves, the bay window with its cushioned reading nook, the way afternoon light pooled on the floor like liquid gold. He could already picture his piano keyboard set up in the corner, his growing collection of vintage vinyl organized on those shelves. I'll take it, he heard himself say. When can I move in? Rachel's face broke into a relieved smile. Is this weekend too soon? 3 days later, Marcus was hauling boxes up 3 flights of stairs, questioning every life choice that had led him to own so many books. He'd just dropped his 4th box of novels in his new bedroom when he heard the apartment door open. Rachel, did you forget something? A voice drifted down the hallway, warm, slightly raspy. Like honey over gravel, Marcus emerged from his room, wiping sweat from his forehead, and froze. The man standing in the entryway was not what Marcus had expected. Tall and lean, with dark curls that fell messily across his forehead. He wore paint-splattered jeans and a faded band t-shirt that had seen better days. But it was his eyes that caught Marcus, storm gray and startlingly direct, framed by dark lashes that seemed almost unfair on someone who probably didn't give a damn about such things. Ow, the man said, and something flickered across his face, surprise. Maybe, or recognition of a different kind. You must be the new roommate. Marcus, right? Right, and you're Elliot. Marcus extended his hand. Suddenly aware of how sweaty he was, how his t-shirt clung to his chest, how he probably looked like he'd just finished running a marathon. Elliot's handshake was firm, his palm warm and slightly calloused. He held on just a beat longer than necessary, or maybe that was Marcus's imagination. Welcome to the chaos, Elliot said with a slight smile that didn't quite reach those gray eyes. Rachel didn't mention you were moving in today. I would've. I don't know, cleaned or something. The place looks great, Marcus assured him. I'm just trying to get the heavy stuff in before it gets dark. You need help? The offer came quickly, almost reflexively. Marcus started to decline. He didn't want to be a burden. Didn't want to start this roommate relationship by being needy, but something in Elliot's expression stopped him. There was a loneliness there, hidden beneath the casual offer. A kind of eagerness that suggested helping wouldn't be a burden at all. Actually, yeah. That would be great. They worked in companionable silence for the next hour, falling into an easy rhythm. Elliot was stronger than his lean frame suggested, lifting boxes that made Marcus's arms shake with what seemed like minimal effort. They moved around each other smoothly. Instinctively, Marcus would step left just as Elliot moved right. They'd reach for opposite ends of his bookshelf without needing to coordinate. You weren't kidding about the books, Elliot observed, setting down a particularly heavy box. What are you? A librarian? Music teacher, actually. Middle school band. Marcus smiled at Elliot's surprised expression. Yeah, I get that a lot. People expect someone more. I don't know, uptight. I was going to say patient, Elliot said. Middle schoolers are basically chaos incarnate. True. but they're also the age where music can really change someone's life. When a kid who's never felt special picks up an instrument and realizes they're good at something. Marcus's voice softened. That's why I do it. Something shifted in Elliot's expression, a warmth that transformed his entire face. That's actually really beautiful. Her eyes met and held for a moment too long. Marcus felt heat creep up his neck and busied himself with opening another box. What about you? He asked, desperate to fill the sudden tension. Rachel mentioned you're a graphic designer? Book covers, mostly. Some branding work. Elliot leaned against the doorframe, watching Marcus unpack. I like projects where I can tell a story visually, especially romance novels. There's something about trying to capture that promise of connection in a single image.
Ow.
Are you a romantic? The question slipped out before Marcus could stop it. Too personal for two people who'd just met, but Elliot didn't seem offended. He considered the question seriously, head tilted slightly. I think I'm a believer in possibility. That moment before everything changes, that's what interests me. Not the guaranteed happy ending, but the potential for one. Marcus thought about that as he continued unpacking. The potential for happiness. The moment before everything changed. He didn't know it yet, but he was living in exactly that kind of moment. Over the next few weeks, Marcus and Elliot settled into a routine that felt surprisingly natural. They were both early risers, Marcus because he had to be at school by 7:30. Elliot because he claimed the morning light was best for working. They'd pass each other in the kitchen, exchanging sleepy good mornings over coffee, comfortable in their shared silence. Elliot would work at the dining table, laptop surrounded by sketches and color swatches, occasionally cursing under his breath when a design wasn't cooperating. Marcus would come home in the afternoons, exhausted from wrangling 12-year-olds through scales and sheet music, and find Elliot still working. So focused he'd forget to eat lunch. You need better work-life boundaries, Marcus told him one Thursday. Sliding a sandwich across the table, Elliot looked up, blinking as if surfacing from deep water. What time is it? 3:30. Have you eaten anything today? I had coffee. Coffee isn't food. It is if you believe hard enough. But Elliot took the sandwich, their fingers brushing briefly in the exchange. Thanks. You didn't have to do this, roommate code, Marcus said lightly, ignoring the way his skin tingled where they'd touched. We keep each other alive. Something about the way Elliot smiled, and soft and genuine, and just a little bit sad-made. Marcus's chest tight. They began cooking dinner together. Not by plan, but by natural evolution. Marcus would start something, and Elliot would drift in, asking if he could help. They'd chop vegetables side by side, argue good-naturedly about whether garlic bread needed Parmesan. Marcus. Absolutely. Elliot, heresy. Share their days over pasta or stir-fry or whatever they'd managed to create together. Marcus learned that Elliot took his coffee black, that he was allergic to shellfish, that he had a younger sister he called every Sunday without fail. He learned that Elliot's laugh was rare but devastating, that he had a habit of pushing his curls back when he was frustrated, that he was left-handed and always had ink smudges on the side of his palm. He learned that having Elliot in his space felt less like sharing and more like completion, as if some part of him he hadn't known was missing had quietly clicked into place, and that terrified him. The problem was that Marcus had rules. After his last relationship, 3 years with someone who'd loved him conditionally, who'd made him feel like he was always one mistake away from being too much or not enough, Marcus had promised himself no more falling for unavailable men, no more reading too much into friendly gestures, no more mistaking kindness for interest. And Elliot was definitely straight. Probably, maybe. Marcus had no actual evidence either way, which was part of the problem. Elliot never mentioned dating anyone, never brought anyone home, never talked about his type or his history. He existed in this maddening state of ambiguity that made Marcus's carefully constructed defenses feel woefully inadequate. It didn't help that Elliot was becoming his favorite person. Overthinking again, his best friend Zara told him over video. Chat one Sunday afternoon. I can literally see your brain spiraling. I'm not overthinking, Marcus protested, though he absolutely was. I'm just being realistic. We're roommates. We have to live together. I can't mess this up by catching feelings for someone who probably doesn't even what? Like you? Think you're attractive? Marcus, literally everyone with eyes thinks you're attractive. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're already halfway in love with this guy and you're just scared. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but the words stuck in his throat. Halfway in love? Was that what this was? This constant awareness of Elliot's presence, the way his day felt brighter when Elliot smiled at him, how he found himself saving funny stories just to see Elliot's reaction? I can't risk it, he finally said, quieter. Not when we have to live together. Not when I'm finally feeling stable and safe somewhere. Zara's expression softened. I get it. I do. But Marcus? Sometimes the safest thing is actually the scariest thing. Maybe that's how you know it matters. After they hung up, Marcus sat in his room, listening to the sound of Elliot moving around the apartment. The gentle click of laptop keys, the soft shuffle of papers, the barely audible hum of whatever song was stuck in. Elliot's head today, his phone buzzed with a text, thinking of ordering Thai for dinner. You want your usual? Such a simple message. Such a casual assumption of knowledge or usual, like they'd been doing this for years. Instead of weeks, Marcus smiled despite himself and typed back, yes, please. Extra spring rolls? The response came immediately. Already added them. I know you. And there it was, that warmth spreading through his chest. That dangerous hope he kept trying to suppress. I know you. Marcus closed his eyes and let himself imagine. Just for a moment what it might be like if knowing each other could become something more. If those shared dinners could include candlelight. If those accidental touches could linger. If that potential Elliot had talked about that moment before everything changes, could actually become their reality. Then he opened his eyes, pushed the fantasy away, and headed out to set the table, because some possibilities were too dangerous to pursue, at least. That's what he kept telling himself. What Marcus didn't know was that in the other room, Elliot had been staring at his phone screen for a full minute after sending that text, heart pounding, wondering if Marcus had any idea how much those 2 words had cost him. I know you, and I'm falling for you. But some truths were too terrifying to speak out loud. Not yet. The first crack in their carefully maintained equilibrium came on a Friday night in October. Marcus had planned to go out with colleagues drinks at a bar in Williamsburg, the kind of forced socializing that came with teaching at a small school where everyone knew everyone's business. But the week had been exhausting, filled with parent-teacher conferences and a flu outbreak that had decimated his advanced band class. And by the time Friday evening rolled around, all he wanted was his couch, his pajamas, and mindless television. He texted his regrets, ordered Chinese food, and changed into soft sweatpants and his favorite worn-out NYU hoodie. When he emerged from his room, he found Elliot already sprawled on the couch, laptop balanced on his knees, wearing glasses Marcus had never seen before. Oh, Elliot said, looking up. I thought you had plans. Cancelled. Too tired to be social? Marcus hesitated. I can hang out in my room if you need the space. Don't be ridiculous. It's your apartment, too. Elliot shifted, making room. I'm just finishing up a project. Client wants a book cover for a romance novel about second-chance love. Apparently, the first draft was too hopeful, and they want something more. Yearning. Marcus settled onto the opposite end of the couch, careful to maintain appropriate distance. How do you visually represent yearning? That's the question, isn't it? Elliot turned the laptop so Marcus could see a draft design showing 2 silhouettes reaching for each other across a sunset, your fingers not quite touching. I'm trying to capture that space between wanting and having. The almost, Marcus repeated softly. Something about the image made his throat tight. Yeah, that's perfect, actually. Elliot studied him with those perceptive gray eyes. You sound like you know the feeling. Doesn't everyone? Marcus aimed for lightness, but wasn't sure he hit it. Wanting something you can't have is basically the human condition. Can't have or won't reach for. The question hung between them, loaded with something Marcus couldn't quite name. Before he could figure out how to respond, the doorbell rang his Chinese food, arriving like a reprieve. I ordered enough for two, Marcus said when he returned with the bags, making a split-second decision. If you want to share? Elliot's face lit up with that rare, brilliant smile. I was literally just thinking about how I was too lazy to cook. You're a mind reader. They ate on the couch, laptop pushed aside, passing containers back and forth with the ease of long practice. Somehow the TV got turned on. Somehow they ended up watching a nature documentary about emperor penguins. Somehow the space between them on the couch gradually decreased until their shoulders were almost touching. Did you know penguins can hold their breath for over 20 minutes? Elliot said, gesturing at the screen with his chopsticks. Like, what are they doing down there for 20 minutes? Are they just vibing with the fish? Marcus laughed so hard he nearly choked on his lo mein. Vibing with the fish? That's your scientific analysis? I contain multitudes. Elliot's grin was infectious. Including terrible penguin commentary? Your penguin commentary is actually the highlight of my week. The words came out more sincere than Marcus intended, and he saw Elliot's expression shift something vulnerable, flickering across his face before he looked away. It's been a rough week, Elliot asked quietly. Just long. Marcus set down his food, suddenly not hungry. Sometimes I wonder if I'm actually making a difference, you know? Like I have this one student, Danny, who's incredibly talented. Natural musician, could really go somewhere with it. But his parents don't see the point of wasting time on band when he could be focusing on real subjects. And I can't. I can't make them see what he could become. Maybe you can't make them see it, Elliot said. But Danny knows. You showed him something about himself that matters. That stays with someone, how do you know? Elliot was quiet for a moment, fingers tracing the pattern on a throw pillow. I had a teacher like you. 9th grade art class, Mr. Patterson. He was the first person who looked at my drawings and didn't just say they were nice. He told me I had something to say, and that learning to say it clearly was worth the work. When I came out and my parents weren't great about it, he's the one who reminded me that I got to decide who I became, not them. Marcus's chest constricted. Elliot, sorry. Elliot let out a shaky laugh. That got heavier than I meant it to. Point is, you're someone's Mr. Patterson. That kid will remember you, your parents. Marcus said carefully. Are things better now? We're working on it, slowly. Elliot met his eyes. They love me. They just had to grieve the son they thought they had before they could see the one they actually have. It's getting better. The vulnerability in Elliot's voice did something to Marcus's carefully constructed walls. Without thinking, he reached over and squeezed Elliot's hand, a brief gesture of comfort. Nothing more, except Elliot's fingers curled around his and held on. They sat like that, hands clasped between them on the couch, the nature documentary playing forgotten in the background. Marcus could feel his pulse hammering, could feel the warmth of Elliot's palm against his, could feel the moment stretching and expanding until it felt like the only moment that had ever existed. Marcus, Elliot said, his voice barely above a whisper, I need to tell you something. Marcus's phone erupted with sound, his ringtone blaring into the quiet apartment. He jerked back instinctively, breaking the contact, fumbling for his phone. Unknown number. Probably spam, but the spell was broken. Sorry, Marcus muttered, silencing the call. It's fine. Elliot was already standing, gathering the empty food containers with mechanical efficiency. I should probably get back to work anyway. Deadline tomorrow. Elliot, thanks for dinner. I'll clean up. And then he was gone, retreating to his bedroom. Door clicking shut with devastating finality. Marcus sat alone on the couch, staring at his hand, the one that had been holding Elliot's just moments before. His skin still tingled from the contact. I need to tell you something. What had Elliot been about to say? And why did Marcus feel like he'd just missed the most important moment of his life? The weekend was awkward in ways that made Marcus's chest ache. Elliot was polite, but distant, their easy rhythm disrupted by whatever had happened or hadn't happened on the couch. They moved around each other like strangers, all their natural synchronicity replaced by stilted courtesy. By Monday morning, Marcus felt like he was crawling out of his skin. "I'm going to fix this," he told Zara on his lunch break, pacing the band room. "I don't know what I'm fixing or how, but the distance is killing me." "Maybe you should try the revolutionary concept of using your words," Zara suggested dryly. "Tell him how you feel, and risk making everything even more awkward. Risk losing the best friendship I've had in years. Risk having to find a new apartment because I made things weird. Or maybe, and hear me out, risk finding out he feels the same way you do." Marcus wanted to believe that. God, he wanted to believe it. But years of disappointment had taught him to protect himself, to not hope for things that seemed too good to be true. "I'll think about it," he said, which they both knew meant he wouldn't. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Marcus came home that evening to find the apartment dark. Not unusual. Sometimes Elliot got so absorbed in work he forgot about things like turning on lights, but something felt off. "Wrong, Elliot," he called out, flipping on the living room lights. No response. Marcus's stomach twisted with an anxiety he couldn't name. He moved toward Elliot's room, noticing the door was slightly ajar, soft light spilling into the hallway. He knocked gently. "Hey, you okay?" A pause, then, "Yeah, fine." Elliot's voice sounded rough, strained. "Definitely not fine." Marcus pushed the door open and froze. Elliot sat on the edge of his bed, still in his pajamas at 7 p.m., laptop showing what looked like an email. But it was Elliot's expression that stopped Marcus's heart, devastation barely contained. Eyes red-rimmed, jaw tight with the effort of holding himself together. What happened? Marcus crossed the room without thinking, dropping to his knees in front of Elliot. "Talk to me, it's stupid." Elliot tried for a laugh, but it came out broken. "I shouldn't be this upset about a job." "What job?" "I applied for this position. Art director at a publishing house. It was a long shot. They wanted someone with more experience, more connections. But I made it to the final round, and I thought—" He gestured helplessly at the laptop. "They went with someone else." "I'm sorry," Marcus said, inadequate words for the pain he saw in Elliot's face. "The worst part?" Elliot's voice cracked. "The email was so nice about it. Talked about how talented I am, how impressed they were with my portfolio, but not impressed enough to actually hire me. The story of my life, good enough to be considered, never quite good enough to be chosen." The raw vulnerability in those words split something open in Marcus's chest. "Elliot, that's not true, isn't it?" Elliot looked at him with those storm-gray eyes, and Marcus saw years of hurt there. Layers of rejection and disappointment that went far deeper than one job. "I'm always the almost. The maybe. The not quite enough. Even with my parents, they love me, but they accept me with conditions. And I tell myself it's fine, that I don't need external validation, that I'm secure in who I am. But then something like this happens and I realize I'm just tired. I'm tired of being the safe choice. The acceptable option, the one people keep at arm's length." Marcus's hands moved without permission, cupping Elliot's face, thumbs brushing away tears he hadn't noticed falling. "You are not an almost to me. You're not a safe choice or a compromise. You're extraordinary, Elliot. You're the first person I think about in the morning and the last person I think about at night. You make everything better just by being in it." "That job? Their loss?" "Absolutely their loss." Elliot's breath hitched. "Marcus, I'm not done." The words were tumbling out now, unstoppable. "You want to know what I think when I look at your work? I think you see things other people miss. You find the beauty in the yearning, in the space between wanting and having, because you understand it. You understand what it means to hope for something you're afraid to reach for. And yes, that book cover you were working on? It's perfect. It's devastating and hopeful and heartbreaking all at once, just like you." They were so close now. Marcus still kneeling between Elliot's legs, hands cradling his face. Elliot's fingers wrapped around Marcus's wrists, as if to anchor himself. "Just like me?" Elliot echoed. "You break my heart, Elliot Chen. In the best possible way. You make me want things I promised myself I wouldn't want again." You make me believe in the kind of connection I thought only existed in the romance novels you design covers for. What kind of connection? Elliot's voice was barely a whisper, but his eyes, God. His eyes were blazing with something that looked terrifyingly like hope. The kind where you know someone in 3 weeks better than you knew people you dated for years. The kind where holding hands on a couch feels more intimate than anything you've experienced before. The kind where you realize home isn't a place, it's a person. It's you, Elliot. You're home for me. The silence that followed felt eternal and instantaneous all at once. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs, his mouth dry with terror at what he'd just confessed. He'd crossed every line, broken every rule he'd set for himself, then Elliot was kissing him. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was desperate and certain and inevitable, like a storm breaking after weeks of gathering. Elliot's fingers threaded through Marcus's hair, pulling him closer, and Marcus surged upward, hands sliding from Elliot's face to his waist. Finally closing the distance he'd been maintaining for weeks, Elliot tasted like salt and coffee in relief. He kissed like he designed with precision and passion, with careful attention to every detail. With the kind of focus that made Marcus feel like the only person in the world. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elliot rested his forehead against Marcus's. "I've wanted to do that since the day you moved in," Elliot confessed. "You walked in all sweaty and gorgeous and immediately made terrible jokes about your book collection. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble." Marcus laughed, the sound shaky with emotion. "I was trying so hard not to notice how beautiful you are. I had rules. No falling for roommates. No reading into friendly gestures. No hoping for things that seemed impossible. How's that working out for you?" "Terribly." "Best failure of my life?" "For what it's worth," Elliot murmured against his lips, "I've been breaking all my rules too. No getting attached. No hoping for more than friendship. No letting myself imagine what this would feel like." He pulled back just enough to meet Marcus's eyes. "Reality is so much better than imagination." Yeah. Elliot's smile was radiant, transforming his entire face. "Though I have to say, you picked a hell of a moment for this confession. I'm a mess. I haven't showered. I've been crying over a job rejection." "You're perfect," Marcus interrupted. "Especially like this. Especially when you let me see the parts you usually hide." Something flickered in Elliot's expression, wonder and vulnerability and cautious joy. "I don't hide things from you. I couldn't even if I wanted to. You see through me? Is that okay?" "It's terrifying," Elliot admitted. "And yeah, it's more than okay." They stayed like that for a long moment, Marcus kneeling on the floor between Elliot's legs, Elliot's hands cradling Marcus's face, both of them smiling like idiots. The laptop still glowed with that rejection email. But it felt irrelevant now, a wrong turn that had somehow led them exactly where they needed to be. "I should probably get off the floor," Marcus finally said. "My knees are killing me." Elliot tugged him up and over, pulling Marcus onto the bed beside him. They arranged themselves carefully, Marcus on his back, Elliot curled against his side, head resting on Marcus's chest. It felt natural, easy, like they'd been doing this for years. "I'm still going to be sad about the job," Elliot said quietly. "Tomorrow, probably. When this wears off, I know. And I'll be here. We can eat ice cream and talk about how they made a terrible mistake. We can send professionally passive-aggressive telepathic messages to the hiring manager. Whatever you need. What if what I need is this? Just this?" Marcus pressed a kiss to the top of Elliot's head, breathing in the scent of his shampoo, something clean and slightly woodsy that Marcus had been noticing for weeks without letting himself acknowledge why. "Then this is what you'll get. For as long as you want it, that might be a while." "Good, I'm not going anywhere." Elliot tilted his head up, and Marcus met him halfway for another kiss, lower this time, deeper, full of promise rather than desperation. When they broke apart, Elliot was smiling. "So," he said, "we're doing this? We're really doing this? Unless you changed your mind in the last 30 seconds, not even a little bit." Elliot shifted closer, if that was even possible. "Though we should probably talk about logistics. Roommate agreements. What this means for the lease? Whether we're telling people right away or Elliot? Yeah, we can figure all that out tomorrow. Tonight, can we just be? Elliot relaxed against him, tension draining from his shoulders. Yeah, we can do that. They lay there in comfortable silence, listening to the sounds of the city outside. Car horns and distant sirens, and the muffled conversations of neighbors coming home from work. The lamp on Elliot's desk cast warm shadows across the walls, illuminating sketches and color swatches and half-finished designs. A whole life, Marcus realized, that he now got to be part of. Hey, Marcus. Elliot's voice was drowsy, content. Thank you. For seeing me, for saying all those things, for making this the best, worst day I've had in a while. Marcus tightened his arms around Elliot. This beautiful man who'd been designing covers about yearning while living it himself, who'd been waiting for someone to choose him first for once, who somehow thought Marcus was the extraordinary one. Thank you for letting me, Marcus said softly. For trusting me with this. With you, always, Elliot promised. And Marcus believed him. Outside, the city kept moving. People fell in love and fell apart, took chances and played it safe, lived their lives in the space between wanting and having. But here, in this small room in Brooklyn, two people had finally closed that distance. The almost had become an always, and everything had changed. They finally admitted their feelings. But the story isn't over yet. In part 3, Marcus and Elliot navigate what it means to turn a friendship into a relationship. Face the fears that still linger. Discover that sometimes the hardest part isn't falling in love, it's trusting that you get to keep it. Don't miss the beautiful conclusion to this love story. Part 3 is coming next, and trust me, you're going to want tissues for this one. Marcus woke up to sunlight streaming through its unfamiliar windows and a warm weight against his side. For a disoriented moment, he couldn't remember where he was. This wasn't his room. These weren't his sheets, and then Elliot shifted, mumbling something incoherent, and memory flooded back. Oh, they'd fallen asleep. Somehow, between talking and kissing and more talking, they dozed off in Elliot's bed, still fully clothed, tangled together like it was the most natural thing in the world. Morning light painted everything golden, catching in Elliot's dark curls, illuminating the peaceful expression on his face. Marcus let himself look at the man in his arms. The slight stubble along his jaw, the way his lashes cast shadows on his cheeks, the vulnerable curve of his mouth in sleep. He looked younger like this, softer, without the careful walls he maintained while awake. As if sensing scrutiny, Elliot's eyes fluttered open. For a moment, he looked confused. Then his gaze focused on Marcus and his whole face transformed, smile breaking across his features like sunrise. Hi, Elliot said, voice rough with sleep. Hi yourself. Marcus brushed a curl back from Elliot's forehead, marveling at the fact that he could do that now, that touching was allowed. How are you feeling? Like I'm still dreaming? Elliot stretched, cat-like, then settled back against Marcus's chest. But a really good dream? The kind where you wake up disappointed it's not real? Except this time, it is real, isn't it? Very real. Marcus pressed a kiss to his temple to prove it. We should probably talk about that. It's talking, right? That thing adults do. Elliot sighed dramatically, but didn't move away. What specifically should we talk about? Everything? Nothing? I don't know, I've never done this before.
What? Dated your roommate?
Fallen for someone this fast. Been this sure this quickly. Marcus hesitated, vulnerability creeping in. It should probably scare me more than it does. Elliot pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. Does it scare you? A little, but not for the reasons it should. Marcus traced absent patterns on Elliot's shoulder. I'm not scared of how I feel. I'm scared of screwing this up. Of letting my past damage something this good before it even has a chance to become what it could be. Your past? It was a fair question. They'd shared so much in the weeks of living together. But there were still gaps continued to 19 Amstel histories they hadn't fully explored. Marcus took a breath, deciding that if they were doing this, they were doing it honestly. My ex. We were together for 3 years, and for most of that time, I thought we were building towards something permanent. But he had this list in his head, all these ways I needed to change to be the person he could fully commit to. I was too emotional, too passionate about my work, too much, or not enough depending on the day. Eventually, I realized I was exhausting myself trying to be someone else's right person instead of just being myself. Elliot's expression had gone soft and fierce at the same time. He sounds like an idiot. He wasn't, though. That's the complicated part. He was smart and kind, and we had good moments. We just wanted different things from each other. He wanted someone practical and even-keeled. I wanted someone who saw my intensity as a feature, not a bug. Marcus managed a wry smile. Took me a while after we ended to believe I wasn't the problem, that I didn't need to be smaller or quieter or less to be lovable. You're not too much, Elliot said fiercely. You're exactly right. And anyone who made you feel otherwise was wrong. The conviction in his voice made Marcus's throat tight. How are you so sure? Because I've spent weeks watching you be exactly who you are, passionate and kind, and so, goddamn, alive, and every single thing I learned made me want you more. You come home exhausted from teaching and still make dinner for both of us. You remember that I don't like mushrooms and that I take my coffee black. You leave sticky notes with terrible jokes on the bathroom mirror because you know they make me laugh. You're not too much, Marcus. You're everything. Marcus kissed him then because words felt inadequate for the emotions swelling in his chest. Elliot met him eagerly, hands sliding into Marcus's hair, making soft sounds that went straight to Marcus's core. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elliot was grinning. Okay, so kissing you is officially my new favorite activity, he said. But we should probably actually talk before we get distracted again. Probably, Marcus agreed, not moving. What should we talk about? Expectations. Boundaries. Whether we're telling people? Elliot worried his bottom lip. I want to be smart about this. We're roommates if this goes badly. We can't just avoid each other and move on. We have to figure out how to protect both the relationship and the friendship underneath it. It was such a thoughtful, measured approach, so very Elliot. Marcus loved him for it, even as part of him wanted to argue that what they had was worth any risk. You're right, he said instead. So let's be smart. What do you need from me? What are you worried about? Elliot was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. I'm worried that I'll disappoint you. That once the newness wears off, you'll realize I'm just boring. I work from home. I don't have a huge social life. I'm not great at grand romantic gestures. I'm worried that I'm not enough to keep someone like you interested. Someone like me? Someone brilliant and magnetic and full of life. Someone who lights up a room just by walking into it. Someone who could have anyone. Elliot. Marcus cupped his face, making sure he was listening. I don't want anyone. I want you. I want your quiet mornings and your terrible penguin commentary. I want the way you lose track of time when you're designing. I want to come home to you every day and share bad takeout and argue about garlic bread. You're not boring, you're steady. You're safe in all the ways that matter. And that's not a consolation prize. That's everything. Elliot's eyes were suspiciously bright. You have to stop saying perfect things or I'm going to cry again. I'm just telling the truth. Marcus brushed a thumb across Elliot's cheekbone. Your turn. What do you need from me? Patience, Elliot said immediately. I'm not great at being vulnerable, at asking for what I need. I tend to shut down when I'm overwhelmed instead of talking about it. So I need you to be patient with me when I do that. To remind me that you're not going anywhere just because I'm having a bad day. I can do that, in honesty. If something's bothering you, if I'm doing something that hurts you or crosses a line, I need you to tell me. Don't protect my feelings at the expense of your own. Deal? Anything else? Elliot hesitated, then. Kiss me good morning. Every day. Even when we're running late or fighting or busy. Especially then. I need the reminder that this is real. That you choose me. Marcus felt his heart crack open. Every morning, he promised. Starting now, he demonstrated thoroughly. Until Elliot was smiling against his lips. Until the worry had melted from his shoulders. Until they were both laughing for no reason except the pure joy of being together. So Marcus said, when they finally came up for air. Are we doing this? Officially. I would very much like to date you, Marcus Rivera. I would very much like to date you too. Elliot Chen. They grinned at each other like fools. And Marcus thought that this moment of choosing each other in full daylight, with all their fears and histories and hopes laid bare, was even better than the desperate kiss of the night before. This was the moment where the almost became an always. They decided to take things slowly, at least in terms of what they told people. Not because they weren't sure, Marcus had never been more certain of anything in his life, but because they wanted to protect this fragile new thing until it had a chance to take root. But slowly. It turned out it was relative. Within a week, Marcus had commandeered Elliot's desk chair for his own creative projects. And Elliot had claimed the corner of Marcus's bed for his laptop when he needed a change of scenery. They fell into new routines. Good morning kisses in the kitchen, hands held under the dining table during dinner. Falling asleep together more nights than not, the physical shift was gradual but inevitable. Kissing on the couch while watching TV, Elliot's fingers in Marcus's hair while he graded papers. Marcus's hands under Elliot's shirt while they stood together in the kitchen waiting for water to boil. Each touch was a revelation, a permission granted and accepted. A new way of being together that felt both thrilling and deeply right. We should probably talk about sleeping arrangements, Elliot said one evening, about 2 weeks in. They were in Marcus's room, Elliot sitting cross-legged on the bed while Marcus put away laundry. It seems inefficient to maintain 2 bedrooms when we're basically always in the same one anyway.
Hey.
Are you asking to move in together? Marcus teased. We're already roommates. You know what I mean? Make it official. Combine our spaces. Turn one of the bedrooms into something else's office for you, a studio for me, whatever we want. Marcus set down the shirt he'd been folding. Is that what you want? Yeah, I like falling asleep with you. I like waking up next to you. I like the way you steal all the blankets and then wrap yourself around me like a very attractive octopus. I want that to be our normal, not a thing we're doing temporarily until we figure out the right way to do this. There's no manual for this, Marcus said, crossing to the bed. No timeline we have to follow. We get to decide what's right for us. Then I'm deciding I want to share a bedroom with my boyfriend. If that's okay with you? Boyfriend, Marcus repeated, testing the word. It felt good, solid. Yeah, that's more than okay with me. They've spent the next weekend rearranging, combining their lives in tangible ways. Elliot's desk moved into the second bedroom, along with Marcus's keyboard and music equipment. They argued good-naturedly about whose bed to keep. Elliot's one, being slightly larger. About bookshelf organization, they compromised by alternating their books by color. About whether curtains should be blackout or sheer, they bought both. With each decision, each compromise, each moment of laughter or mild frustration, Marcus felt the foundation of their relationship solidifying. This wasn't just attraction or infatuation. This was partnership, building a life together, one shared space at a time. The first real test came a month in. When Elliot's parents called to say they'd be in New York for a long weekend and wanted to see him, Marcus found Elliot pacing the living room. Phone clutched in his hand, anxiety written across every line of his body. Hey, Marcus said gently. What's wrong? My parents are coming to visit. They want to have dinner here. Elliot ran a hand through his curls, leaving them even more disheveled. I haven't told them about you yet, about us. And now they're going to show up and see that we're clearly together. I don't know how they'll react, Elliot. Breathe. Elliot stopped pacing, pulling in a shaky breath. I'm sorry. I know this is a lot. We haven't even been together that long, and meeting parents is this whole thing, and you shouldn't have to deal with my family drama. Stop. Marcus crossed to him, taking both his hands. You're spiraling. Talk to me. What are you actually worried about? Elliot was quiet for a long moment. I'm worried they'll ruin this. That their reaction will make you see me differently, see us differently. They've gotten better about me being gay, but they still sometimes say things, make comments. I'm worried you'll meet them and realize my life comes with complications you didn't sign up for. Look at me. Marcus waited until Elliot met his eyes. I'm not going anywhere. Your family is part of who you are, and I want to know all of you, even the complicated parts, especially those parts. And if they say something that hurts you, I'll be there, right beside you. We'll handle it together. You don't have to. I want to. That's what this is, Elliot. We're a team now. Your challenges are my challenges. Your family is my family, in whatever form that takes. Marcus squeezed his hands. Plus, I'm great with parents. I'm a teacher, remember? I charm middle schoolers and their families for a living. I got a small smile. You're really not worried? I'm a little nervous, Marcus admitted. But mostly I'm excited to meet the people who raised you, to see where you came from, to sit at a table with your family as your boyfriend and not have to hide how much I care about you. Elliot pulled him close, resting his forehead against Marcus's shoulder. How do you always know what to say? Years of practice, talking to anxious 13-year-olds. Marcus pressed a kiss to his temple. Plus, I'm wildly in love with you, so I'm pretty invested in making sure you're okay. Elliot went very still. Then he pulled back, eyes wide. What did you just say? Marcus's heart hammered, but he didn't look away. I said I'm in love with you. I know it's fast, and I wasn't planning to say it yet, but it's true. I love you, Elliot. I love your quiet strength and your careful heart. I love the way you see beauty in yearning because you've lived it. I love that you make me feel safe enough to be exactly who I am. I love you, and meeting your parents doesn't scare me because I know what we have is worth whatever challenges come with it. Marcus Elliot's voice broke. I love you too. God, I love you so much. I've been trying not to say it because I didn't want to freak you out, but I've been in love with you for weeks. Maybe since that first day when you showed up sweaty and gorgeous and immediately started making terrible jokes. The kiss then. Long and deep and sweet. Both of them smiling too much for it to be technically effective, but neither of them caring. When they finally broke apart, Elliot was laughing. So we're idiots who fell in love in a month, he said. Completely, Marcus agreed. But we're idiots together. That's what matters. Together, Elliot repeated, like he was testing the weight of the word. Yeah, I like that. The dinner with Elliot's parents was fine. Better than fine, actually. They were reserved, but kind. Clearly trying their best even when they stumbled over terminology or asked questions that made Elliot tense. Marcus watched Elliot's mother study them throughout the meal, the way they moved around each other in the kitchen. The casual affection, the inside jokes that had already developed. You seem happy, she said to Elliot as Marcus cleared plates. Happier than I've seen you in a long time? I am, Elliot said simply, reaching for Marcus's hand. Really happy. Later, after his parents had left, Elliot collapsed on the couch with a groan. That was exhausting, but good? Marcus settled beside him, pulling Elliot against his chest. Yeah, good. They liked you, I could tell, and they're trying. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was. Tilted his head up. Thank you. For being there. For being exactly who you are, always, Marcus promised. That's the deal now. We show up for each other. The deal, Elliot repeated, smiling. Is that what we're calling a relationship? Would you prefer legally binding romantic contract? God, you're such a dork. But Elliot was laughing, the tension of the evening finally draining away. I love you. I love you too. They stayed like that. Wrapped around each other on the couch they'd picked out together. In the apartment, they were turning into a home. And Marcus thought about how far they'd come. Two strangers who'd become roommates, then friends, then something so much deeper. Elliot had been designing covers about yearning, about the space between wanting and having, about the moment before everything changes. But he'd been wrong about one thing. The best part wasn't the yearning or the potential. The best part was this: the having, the choosing. The everyday miracle of being chosen in return. Hey, Marcus. Elliot's voice was drowsy, content. Yeah. Remember that book cover I was working on? The one about second chance love and yearning? The one that was too hopeful? That one. I think I finally figured out how to fix it. Elliot shifted to look at him, eyes bright. The answer isn't to show the yearning. It's to show what happens after. The moment when they finally reach for each other and connect. When the almost becomes an always, Marcus understood. He looked at Elliot, this beautiful, brilliant man who'd taught him that home wasn't a place but a person. That love didn't have to be earned but could simply be given and received. Dan felt something settle deep in his chest. "Yeah," he said softly. "Show them the always. Show them it's worth the risk. It is, isn't it? Worth the risk? Every time. With you. Every single time." Elliot kissed him, soft and sure, and Marcus kissed back with equal certainty. Outside, the city moved through another evening, people living their lives, taking chances, making choices. But here, in this small apartment in Brooklyn, two people had found something rare and precious. They'd found each other. And that, Marcus thought, as Elliot settled back against his chest. As the evening light faded to comfortable darkness, as they simply existed together in perfect understanding, that was the real happy ending. Not the first kiss, or the confession of love, or even the challenges they'd overcome. It was this. The quiet certainty, the everyday choice to stay, to try, to build something together, the space between wanting and having had finally closed, and everything, absolutely. Everything had changed for the better.